Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Thanks, Kimberly. All right, Fast Leader Legion, you're going to get the opportunity to meet with somebody today that I think every one of us can emulate in so many different ways. She is a high energy person. She is a mother. She is a coordinator, an innovator, somebody who always looks at the bright side. For me, she's just one of those people that I am so excited to be able to interview today. And her name is Lesley Lykins. She was actually raised on a farm in Minerva, Ohio, where she actually got the opportunity to milk some goats. I don't think we're going to be talking about that a whole lot today, but I'm sure there were some life lessons that were in there that we could all learn from, and hopefully she'll share those. She is actually a former U.S. Navy officer. She started her career driving warships based in San Diego, California, and after 3 years, she transferred to the Navy's public affairs community and served overseeing media relations for explosive ordnance disposal units. Just imagine the kind of stories that she can actually share with us in regards to that. She actually left active duty following an assignment at the Pentagon, where she established the Navy's social media efforts. She's currently employed as the Director of Member Engagement for the Customer Experience Professionals Association, where I have personally had the opportunity to interact with her on several different projects in several different ways, and that's why I wanted her on our show. I think she's phenomenal. She actually spends time fundraising as well for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and participates as a leader in her church and as a wife and mother of 3 young children and a 4th that's coming at any time. So Lesley, I am so excited to have you today. Are you ready to help us get over the hump?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. All right. So I've given our listeners a brief introduction, but could you tell us a little bit about what your current passion is so that we can get to know you better?
Sure. So I absolutely enjoy what I do for a living, but I would say that my biggest passion in life is by far my family. All of the decisions that I've made up to this point have been around my family and how to best support them. I feel like in the end, after everything else is done, you've still got your family. So I put a lot of passion and energy right now into raising our 3 children, being a supportive wife to my husband, and really making decisions around those goals.
And also one of the things I didn't share with you is that, Lesley also has a special needs child. So amongst all of her accomplishments, all of the things that she does, and she still moves forward and keeps that positive outlook and really has, just again, an awesome guiding light that we can all learn from. So Lesley, I know that you have probably, had many different leadership quotes within your life with your father being in the service as well as yourself, but is there one that kind of stands out for you as something that you kind of always use as a grounding point or a gut check? Would you please share that with us?
So yeah, my dad used to wake us up every morning yelling, "Reveille, reveille, all hands heave out," which is not the leadership quote that I would share with anybody. It's a terrible way to wake up, but it got us started every morning. But I think the thing that he instilled in us the most that I carry with me to this day is the quote that you should never put off tomorrow what you can do today. So I'm a big believer in not procrastinating. And over the past, I'd say, maybe 5 to 7 years, I think what I've really learned about leadership and just overall working with other people is the idea that you really need to strive to give people something that's really compelling and engaging that they want to own in their own lives. So, early on, I have a lot of passion. I have a lot of energy and passion. That's my thing. But I feel like you need to be able to translate that to others. So I've really, in the past, maybe decade, really focused in on that.
That's good, sage advice in a lot of ways. So the kind of piece that I was talking about the other day with somebody is the concept of perfectionism. But you know what? Being a perfectionist is really no good if you're also a procrastinator along with it. You got to get things done. You got to move them forward. And I see that you do a great job at both of those things. I mean, yes, you do pay attention to the details, but ultimately you need to move forward. Thank you for sharing that with us. Mm-hmm. So, oftentimes too, we have situations where we have to get over a hump, and they become defining moments for who we are as a person and also help shape us going forward. And those stories can be so valuable, not to just us, but then also to all of our listeners. Because, the reality is we all are leaders, and it doesn't matter what your job is. It doesn't matter if you're talking about leading self, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're leading a business, whether you're a part of a team, we all have to lead. And we can learn so much by those stories, because I don't have a lifetime trying to figure all this stuff out. I look towards people like Lesley and many of the people who are on our show to help me get over the hump. So, Lesley, is there a moment, a time, a story that you can share with us where it kind of defined you and shaped you? Could you take us back to that time?
Sure. And it might be 2 times, because it took me a lesson before I figured out how to do it the right way the next time. But, in the military, our service members are given a lot of responsibility very early in their lives. It's kind of incredible now that I look at it from a civilian point of view. But I had a group of around 20 sailors that I was in charge of at the age of 21. And that's an incredible thing to think about. Where were you at 21 years old? And really, what was your personality like and your leadership style? And you're still trying to develop all of that. And so I mentioned, I'm a really passionate person. so early on, as I'm 21 years old, I remember probably the thing that I look back as my leadership failure at the time was, we pulled into port in India, and I was in charge of public relations again. This was sort of my thing. And we had set up a community relations project in India where we were going to go to an orphanage, and we were going to spend the day at this orphanage painting and taking care of different repairs that needed to be done. And I remember wanting my 20 sailors, to come with me to this orphanage and help for the day. And these are also, 18 to 20-year-olds who really had better ideas for India and didn't necessarily want to go and paint at an orphanage. And I remember sitting there on watch with a bunch of these sailors, trying to convince them that they really should do this community relations project. And it was, I got so emotional. I got so emotional. I learned really early that was not the way to lead people. They did not come with me. We had a number of sailors that did, but I couldn't convince them. And I was so frustrated and so upset that I wasn't able to inspire this group of sailors in my division to come with me to do this community relations project. So I took that lesson with me moving forward, and it really started to shape my mind frame of how do I look at something from another person's perspective and then implement it from their perspective to motivate them to get on board. That lesson helped me tremendously as I moved forward in my career, and had to deal with other leaders, in fact. So not too many years down the road from that experience, I was on a very large warship, and we had done some exercises where we ended up capturing pirates. And the commanding officer of this ship was very anti-media. He didn't trust public affairs officers, which I was at the time. And so I'm trying to explain to him how this is a very valuable story to tell to the American public. And he just didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I took the lessons I had learned earlier in my career, and I did a really good job of highlighting the sailors on the other 2 ships that had participated in this, and just completely left his ship quiet. We didn't do any interviews with him. I just really focused on the other ships. And sure enough, 24 hours later, as all of the news media is covering this big story, he comes up to me and he says, Lieutenant Lykins, why isn't our ship being covered in the media? I had to explain to him, well, sir, if you'd like to do some interviews, we could go ahead and get that set up. But it really did help me, that early experience about looking at it from somebody else's perspective and not getting so emotional. I feel like as an early leader, as a young kid out of college, I was so emotional about things. And so I had to really take that out of my leadership style.
Those are 2 awesome stories. So I can imagine, like many of us, and you said something about early in your career. I know that all of us deal with those emotional issues, even later in our career. I would dare to say that they actually get worse as you age, because you become a little bit more what they refer to as non-elastic in your ability to flex in your thinking and all of that. So, it's still sage advice, many, many good things that we can learn from that story, both of them. So, also too, when you start talking about that point at which you said, oh, and you reflected and you had that epiphany. Can you take us back to specifically when that occurred? We would love to hear that.
I wish it was a point in time, but I mean, maybe I could have gotten more success had it been, right at that point in time. But it really took kind of evolving, as I went and just learning hard lessons as you go. I don't think that there was one point in my career where it was like, oh, wow, so that's how you be a great leader. I wish that it was, because it probably would have saved me on some other lessons. But no, it's been this kind of overarching thing about how do you interact with people. I think that's a big piece of it is you just have to keep learning about what inspires people, what will impact their frame of mind. I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of senior military leaders get into a mind frame, and my personality is not the typical military personality either. So it took a lot on my part to learn how to engage and interact with somebody who is so opposite in their thinking from my thinking. And so it's taken a lot of kind of intuitive observation around people and what they're thinking, what their emotions are like, what they appreciate and value. And then how can I come from that approach?
Got it. So let me ask, is it easier to steer a big old warship or a naval executive?
There was a close call steering that warship around the oil platform, so I don't want to say it's easy. I do miss it though tremendously. It's funny. I think of that. That's such a funny question to me, because I think of being 23 years old and we were driving circles around an oil platform off the coast of Iraq. And I had watch. I was officer of the deck. And so I'm in charge of the ship as the captain's sleeping. And it's the middle of the night. And this big tanker is coming off of the platform. And we were not in a good position. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But nothing happened. We were all good. Don't tell the commanding officer. No, it was fine. But there were definitely times where I think back now and I think, first of all, to be the commanding officer of a ship like that and to have a 22-year-old or a 21-year-old driving your ship for you in the middle of the night. I mean, think of the amount of just pure nerves and guts to allow that to happen and to be able to sleep through that. Well, exhaustion too. But I mean, there is some tremendous amount of leadership that you see that I've been able to witness. And as I look back at the responsibilities and the accountabilities of these people that I've worked with, I mean, it's an incredible lessons, incredible examples that I've seen. My very last tour with the Pentagon was probably one of the most interesting. When you ask about steering executive leaders in the Navy, we had to sell, I will quote unquote that, social media to the vice chief of naval operations, who's now the CNO, Admiral Greenert. And I remember sitting in a room trying to convince him that social media was not evil, that was a good thing. And it took a lot of explanation and coming at it from a different angle. I was very emotionally invested in this. So you have to, again, take the emotions out and look at it from somebody else's point of view. Where's the value? And how can I demonstrate that to them? It took the earthquake in Haiti for us to launch social media for the Navy, but it did work really well. And to date, the Navy has a phenomenal program. So it's something to be really proud of, I think.
Lesley, awesome stories. Gosh, I know we could probably go on, but we have a show to continue on. Maybe we can have you back again in the future to share some of these stories because they're just so great. Because I want to actually talk about what you're currently doing today. Could you tell us a little bit about, what it is that your day-to-day career entails?
Sure, absolutely. So right now I'm working for an association that's just over 3 years old, Customer Experience Professionals Association, which, Jim, I know you're very familiar with. And it has been such a rewarding opportunity in my life. I came from the military, from bureaucracy, left the Pentagon, and I see a group of people who are so inspired to to reach out to employees, to reach out to customers, and to create a culture in business that is around humanity and around people. And I got to tell you, it is the best job in the world. I tell people this all the time. This is the best job in the world because I am working with a group of 3,500 people who love people, and they're just great, and they are willing to share and to talk to each other about the best practices that they're implementing. So my job is really pretty simple, but don't tell anyone. It's just to help these people who are dedicated to advancing this cause communicate and learn from one another. And so I do everything I can right now to help that sharing and to help that engagement.
Well, and we wish you the very best within that role. But now we actually are going to move on to the fast and furious part of our show, and that is the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Leslie, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of the show where we give you questions and you give us good insights fast. All right, so I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Leslie, are you ready to hoe down?
I'm ready.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
I'd say I still think I have room to grow when it comes to determining the passions of others and coming at it from that approach. I think I can constantly learn that.
That's a good point. I have to do the same. What's the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Watch my emotions. Keep my emotions in check.
Yes, I have to do the same because you can tell we have high energy here on the Fast Leader Show. What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
Transparency and communication. Firm believer in that.
What do you feel is one of your best resources that helps you lead in business or in life?
I would say I really enjoy reading articles and reading books, and I learned a lot from tribal leadership, but definitely reading as a resource.
So what would be one of your favorite books that you could actually recommend for our listeners?
Tribal Leadership. Phenomenal book.
Thank you very much. All right. So we are going to provide a link to that and many other things on the show notes page by going to fastleader.net/Lesley Lykins. You'll be able to get access to those. Okay, Leslie, now our last question on the Hump Day Hoedown. Imagine you woke up tomorrow morning and you were 25 years old again, and you were supposed to begin a new job as a manager of a team that is underperforming and disengaged, and you have to turn them around. But you have all the wisdom and skill that you currently have. You get up, you get ready, you head out to work. What do you do now?
I think the first thing I would do is observe the people and really talk to them. I want to know who they are, who are the people that I'm leading now, what's important in their life, and how can I inspire them with those things that are important to them and the passions that they have to come to a common goal.
Oh, perfect. Leslie, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader listeners how they can connect with you?
Sure. I am available on Twitter at Life's Great. That's LYFSGR8. Or I'm always available by email. And you can find me on the www.cxpa.org page or also on LinkedIn. I look forward to connecting.
Leslie, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.